Welcome to Module 7 of the AI Professional Certification Series, AI Certified Responsible AI Practitioner. In the earlier sessions, we focused on using AI more effectively by learning how to prompt, build GPTs, create apps, design workflows, build assistants, and lead adoption. In this module, we focus on something just as important: using AI responsibly. As AI becomes more common in business, the question is no longer just what AI can do. The question is how we use it safely, thoughtfully, and with good judgment. This session is not about fear, and it is not about abstract philosophy. It is about practical business responsibility. By the end of this module, you should understand the main risks of AI use, when human review is required, and how to apply AI in a way that protects trust, privacy, and accountability. Responsible AI means using artificial intelligence in a way that is thoughtful, safe, and accountable. In simple business terms, it means understanding that AI is powerful but not perfect, and using it with the right level of care. Responsible AI is not about avoiding AI. It is about using it in a way that supports good decisions instead of creating hidden risk. That means being aware of where AI helps, where it needs oversight, and where it should not be trusted on its own. In practice, responsible AI involves a few key habits: verifying important information, protecting sensitive data, using human judgment for high stakes decisions, and being clear about the limits of AI generated outputs. The goal is not to slow innovation down. The goal is to make AI useful and trustworthy at the same time. Responsible AI matters because trust matters. If AI is used carelessly, the result is not just a bad output. It can damage credibility, create compliance issues, expose private information, or lead to poor business decisions. In many workplaces, AI is now being used for research, writing, summarization, analysis, and customer-facing communication. That means the quality and reliability of AI outputs affect real people, real teams, and real decisions. When AI gets something wrong, the impact can travel quickly. This is why accuracy, privacy, review, and accountability are so important. Organizations need confidence that AI is helping rather than creating new problems. People need to know when to trust the output, when to question it, and when to stop and review more carefully. Responsible use builds confidence. Careless use erodes it. There are several major risks leaders and professionals need to understand when using AI in business. The first is hallucination, where AI produces information that sounds convincing but is incorrect. The second is bias, where outputs may reflect unfair or flawed patterns. The third is privacy, especially when users share sensitive information without thinking carefully about where that data is going. The fourth is security, including the exposure of proprietary, internal, or customer-related information. And the fifth is over-reliance, where people begin trusting AI too quickly and stop applying human judgment. These risks do not mean AI should not be used. They mean AI should be used with awareness and structure. When people understand these categories clearly, they make better decisions about where AI fits and where additional review is needed. Awareness is the first step toward responsible use. One of the most important risks in AI is hallucination. This happens when the model produces information that appears clear, detailed, and confident, but is actually inaccurate or entirely made up. The challenge is that the output often sounds believable, which makes it easy to trust too quickly. This becomes risky in business contexts where people may use AI to summarize information, answer questions, generate research, or prepare customer-facing content. If the output includes incorrect facts, invented references, or false assumptions, the consequences can be serious. The solution is not to avoid AI completely. The solution is to review important outputs carefully, especially when accuracy matters. Facts, citations, statistics, names, Dates and recommendations should all be validated when the stakes are meaningful. Confident language does not always mean correct information. AI systems can reflect bias because they are trained on large amounts of human created data, and human created data often contains patterns, assumptions, and imbalances. As a result, AI outputs may sometimes reinforce stereotypes, overlook important context, or produce uneven results across different people or groups. This matters most in sensitive areas such as hiring, evaluation, policy, customer treatment, and decision making that affects individuals. In these contexts, fairness is critical, and outputs should never be accepted blindly. Responsible AI use means recognizing that AI is not neutral simply because it is automated. Human oversight is still needed, especially when the topic involves people, opportunities, risk, or judgment. The practical lesson is simple: use AI to support thoughtful decisions, not to make sensitive decisions without review. Fairness requires attention, not assumption. Privacy is one of the most important responsibilities in AI use. Many AI tools are easy to access and simple to use, which can make people careless about what they paste into them. But just because something is convenient does not mean it is safe to share. Sensitive customer data, employee information, financial details, legal content, private emails, internal documents, and proprietary business information should all be handled carefully. Before using AI, people need to know what data is appropriate to share and what data should remain protected. Responsible AI use means treating inputs with the same seriousness as outputs. What goes into the model matters just as much as what comes out. Good practices include using approved tools, removing sensitive details, and following internal data policies. Protecting privacy is not optional. It is part of using AI professionally. Security and confidentiality go hand in hand with responsible AI use. When people use AI tools casually, they may accidentally expose internal knowledge, strategy documents, customer information, or product plans in ways that create unnecessary risk. This is especially important in organizations where teams work with regulated information, confidential communications, or competitive intellectual property. Even when a user is simply trying to be more efficient, sharing the wrong information in the wrong tool can create real problems. Responsible AI use means knowing which tools are approved, understanding how information is handled, and respecting boundaries around confidential data. It also means avoiding the assumption that every AI tool is appropriate for every kind of work. Security is not only about systems, it is also about habits. Careless use can create risk even when the technology itself is strong. Over reliance happens when people begin trusting AI too quickly and stop thinking critically about the output. This is one of the most subtle risks because it often grows gradually. At first, AI feels helpful, then it starts to feel efficient. Eventually, some users begin accepting responses without enough review. The danger is not just technical error, it is the loss of judgment. AI may produce a good draft, a useful summary, or a strong first pass, but that does not mean it should replace careful thinking. Humans still need to interpret, verify, and decide. Responsible AI means using the technology as support, not as a substitute for accountability. The stronger the output looks, the more important it can be to pause and ask, does this actually make sense? Is it correct? Is it appropriate for this situation? Good use requires active judgment. Human review is required whenever the output could meaningfully affect a person, a customer, a business decision, or a sensitive outcome. That includes legal content, financial guidance, HR related materials, external communications, customer facing messages, and any situation where factual accuracy or fairness matters. A good practical question is this: if this output were wrong, biased, or inappropriate, would the consequences matter? If the answer is yes, human review is needed. Another useful question is whether the output will be shared externally or used to influence an important decision. If so, it should not go out unchecked. Human review does not mean AI is not useful. It means humans remain responsible for final quality and judgment. AI can accelerate the work, but it should not remove ownership of the result. Not all AI use cases carry the same level of risk. Low risk use cases often include internal summaries, brainstorming, first drafts, formatting help, meeting notes, or content outlines. These tasks are useful, and even if the first output is imperfect, it can usually be reviewed and corrected easily. High risk use cases are different. They involve areas where mistakes have bigger consequences, such as legal interpretations, financial recommendations, HR evaluations, sensitive customer decisions, or communications that must be factually precise. In these cases, blind trust in AI output is not acceptable. The purpose of this distinction is not to create fear, it is to improve judgment. When teams understand the difference between low risk support and high risk reliance, they make better decisions about where AI can be used quickly and where stronger review is required. Responsible AI use begins before the output appears. It begins with what the user asks for and what information the user provides. Poor prompting can create confusion, low quality results, and unnecessary risk. Unsafe inputs can create privacy or confidentiality problems before the model even starts responding. Good prompting includes clear instructions, appropriate context, and reasonable expectations. Responsible prompting also means avoiding the urge to ask AI for things it should not be doing, such as making sensitive judgments without human review or handling restricted data carelessly. It also helps to remember that vague prompts often produce vague or misleading outputs. When people are more specific, the results become easier to interpret and review. Responsible prompting is not just about getting better answers. It is about creating safer, clearer, and more reliable interactions with AI from the beginning. Safe AI use does not always require a complicated policy. In many cases, a few simple rules can make a big difference. First, verify important facts before sharing or acting on AI generated output. Second, do not share confidential, personal, or sensitive business information unless the tool is approved for that purpose. Third, require human review for sensitive outputs, especially anything external, regulated, or high stakes. Fourth, use AI as support rather than as an unchecked decision maker. And fifth, stay aware of context. A low risk brainstorming task is different from a legal, financial, or HR decision. These simple rules help individuals and teams use AI productively without becoming careless. They also create consistency across the organization, which builds trust and reduces confusion. Safe use starts with repeatable habits. Governance can sound formal or intimidating, but in simple terms, it just means having clear rules for how AI should be used. It answers practical questions like which tools are approved, what data can be shared, when review is required, and who is accountable for final outputs. Good governance is not about bureaucracy for its own sake. It is about clarity. Without governance, people guess. Some avoid AI completely, some use it recklessly, and some make inconsistent decisions about what is acceptable. That creates risk and slows adoption. Simple governance helps teams move faster because expectations are clearer. It gives people boundaries they can work within. It also helps organizations balance innovation with trust, which is the real goal. Governance should support responsible use, not block useful progress. Trust is one of the most important factors in successful AI adoption. If people do not trust the technology, they will avoid it. If they trust it too much, they may use it carelessly. The goal is balanced trust based on understanding, review, and good practice. Trust grows when teams are clear about what AI is being used for, what its limits are, and how outputs are checked before they are used. It also grows when organizations are transparent about expectations and provide examples of responsible use. People gain confidence when they know there are standards behind the technology. This is why trust is not created by the tool alone. It is created by how the tool is used. When review, accountability, and clear boundaries are present, AI becomes easier to adopt responsibly. Trust is built through practice. Teams can use AI safely when experimentation is balanced with clear guardrails. People need room to explore what the technology can do, but they also need to know the boundaries. Without room to experiment, adoption slows. Without boundaries, risk increases. A practical approach is to start with lower risk use cases, such as summaries, first drafts, or internal process support. These allow teams to learn how AI behaves without exposing the business to unnecessary risk. At the same time, leaders should define simple rules around review, privacy, and tool usage. Training also matters. Teams use AI more safely when they understand its strengths, limitations, and risks. Safety is not created by a single policy alone. It is created by a combination of education, habits, boundaries, and thoughtful use. Responsible adoption is active, not accidental. A simple, responsible AI policy gives teams a shared standard for how AI should be used. It does not need to be overly legalistic to be effective. In many cases, a short, clear policy is more useful than a complicated document that no one reads. A practical policy might include rules such as use only approved AI tools, do not submit confidential or personal data into unapproved systems, verify important facts before sharing output, and require human review for sensitive or external facing content. It should also clarify that AI supports work but does not replace human accountability. The value of a simple policy is consistency. It helps reduce guesswork and creates a shared understanding of what responsible use looks like. That makes adoption safer, clearer, and easier to manage across a team or organization. Many AI related problems come from a few very common mistakes. One is trusting the output too quickly just because it sounds polished. Another is sharing sensitive or confidential information without thinking about where it is going. A third is skipping review, especially when the output affects customers, employees, or important decisions. Another common mistake is using AI in situations where human judgment is still essential. AI can help structure thinking, but it should not replace responsibility in high stakes contexts. These mistakes are preventable when people understand the risks and follow simple habits. Pause before pasting data, review before sharing output, verify facts before acting, and stay aware of where AI helps versus where it needs stronger human oversight. Good use is often about avoiding avoidable errors. Responsible AI practitioners are not defined by using the most advanced tools. They are defined by how they use them. They verify important information. They think about privacy before sharing data. They review outputs before treating them as trustworthy. And they understand when AI is helpful versus when it should not be relied on alone. They also use AI with intention. Instead of treating it like magic, they treat it like a powerful tool that requires judgment. They know that speed is useful, but not if it comes at the cost of accuracy, fairness, or trust. Most importantly, responsible practitioners help set the tone for others. They model good habits, ask better questions, and create better outcomes by combining AI capability with human accountability. That is what responsible use looks like in practice. Congratulations! You've now completed Module 7 of the AI Professional Certification Series, AI Certified Responsible AI Practitioner. This module matters because the future of AI in business will not be shaped only by what the technology can do. It will be shaped by how people choose to use it. Responsible AI use is not about fear, and it is not about avoiding innovation. It is about balancing capability with care. The main idea of this session is simple: verify, protect, review, and lead. Verify important information. Protect sensitive data. review outputs when the stakes are meaningful, and lead by using AI in a way that builds trust rather than undermines it. That is what responsible practitioners do differently. They do not just use AI, they use it thoughtfully, carefully, and professionally. And that is what makes AI sustainable in real organizations.